Good morning. I'm Kip Rumens, Vice President of Sales at Travis Industries.
And I'm Quinn Wilkes, Sales Manager for the Central Region of the country for Travis Industries.
Today we're going to introduce the new 2020 Lopi Liberty for you guys.
Fantastic new stove that's just hitting the market now. It's bigger, it's better, it's badder.
Yeah. The bigger part comes with bigger weight. One of the things we discovered when we put out the weight on this stove, somehow they transferred the old 520 number, Lopi Liberty number, which was 470 pounds. Of course, we haven't called it a 520 for what, 40 years?
Something like
well,
that.
The reason why I call it the 520, growing up as a kid in Leiden, Massachusetts, we used an old cast iron potbelly stove. And that's what heated our house. We even had tin foil on the wall behind it so the wall wouldn't get so hot. And Kurt sent us a Lopi 520 home. It was a prototype stove, but he sent it back to us to try to, to see what it would do in the house compared to this old potbelly stove, which would go out every couple hours. You'd have to get up and stoke it at night, lath and plaster, the typical, basically it was draftier than the wind outside. I mean, it was a cold house. And the only insulation we had, most of it had been moved out of the way by the squirrels in the walls.
So the 520 then became the big stove for the Lopi lineup, and then you had the Liberty.
Right.
It became the Liberty.
And the weight of that stove was 470 pounds on the last model we made. This new model,
it's 560 pounds.
560 pounds now. So it's a big stove.
It's going to last a long time. It's really well made, and we've got amazing new features on this product.
What's great is what Quinn chooses as the #1 selling feature is the
size of the glass. This big viewing area, it's a freestanding fireplace. This is an amazing size of glass. The view that you get inside of that firebox, the way the appliance works, it's amazing. But the size of that glass just jumps out at you.
Well, I think that what jumps out at me is that it's now a depth loader. I can take, it's 24-inch log width, just like the old Lopi Liberty, but now it is 20 inches deep. So I can take a 20-inch piece of wood and I can put it straight in the door, close the door, doesn't come in contact with the cast iron retainer, doesn't come in contact with the glass. I can put it straight inside the door.
And as long as we got the door open, let's talk about this new air wash.
Oh, the new air wash, well, you've seen it now on the new Endeavor that you have, the new Answer you have. Instead of that being a straight across air wash inside where you saw the perforated screen, we moved the screen up on the inside, very similar to the Rockport, and we arched it. Now it presents itself larger, so that big awkward piece of wood's not hitting on that air wash when you're trying to put your wood inside the firebox. So big convenience and better performance on the air wash as well.
Yeah, when you close the door, it's a real clean look too across there. That air wash is going to keep this window clean, and it gives you a nice clean look. You don't have that line across the firebox. Also, we've got a cast iron retainer up here that gives us a nice compression fitting, so you get a real positive feel when you shut that door.
Well, one thing I didn't get to finish telling was my story. I didn't get to finish telling my story. We put that Lopi Liberty in, or that Lopi, what's called the 520 back then. When we put that in the house, we could get an overnight burn. And we didn't have to have the tin foil on the wall behind the stove because it has the built-in shield. So it was a huge improvement, and that's what made the impression on me back when I was about 15 years old that, boy, I want to be in the fireplace wood stove business. I got to get into this business because this is a game changer.
Well, and speaking of some of the changes that we did inside of here, inside the firebox on the new Liberty, we made some significant changes. Tell them a little bit about the baffle and what we did above that.
So to move the baffle even higher than it used to sit in the old Lopi Liberty is we moved this baffle up 1.5 inches on the inside. We have 5 high-tech secondary combustion tubes. These are the next generation burn system. There's 5 secondary air tubes. We went to a dense fiberboard baffle, and that density of that fiberboard baffle also is thinner than the old fire brick. So it allowed us to push it up higher, again giving us more load room inside that firebox.
Yeah, and we took the firebox top and we raised it up just slightly, and that gives you a better draft for the chimney. So when you're opening that bypass up, you're allowing that exhaust to go straight up past the bypass or past the baffle plate. When you push that in, now that exhaust rolls up past the baffle plate and goes right up the chimney.
So it's a better drafting Lopi Liberty. So, and that always was a great drafting stove. So we've got the same fire brick, the real fire brick that we've always used, and we've added the cast iron grate now. So now you have a full ash pan Lopi Liberty. First one we've ever made. The cast iron grate keeps your coals up here at the top. All your fines fall through right into the ash drawer down below.
You know, when you burn a Lopi stove, and I had a Liberty in my house when we first moved up here, you don't have to clean it out that often. But it is that situation when a customer is wanting an ash pan, we now have an ash pan. We get to say yes rather than say no. Here's the ash pan assembly itself. Comes out. It's got a lifting handle. It's got a smooth door glides here, ball bearings. It's got a nice feel, nice positive seal on the ash pan door.
One of the other changes is we've gone to the newest style air control, which we've been utilizing now in a lot of the new models. The single operation air control slides in and out. It's nice and quiet. It's not right in the center of the stove. It's off to the side. So it makes, again, for another nice improvement on the Lopi Liberty.
And similar to what we're doing on the Endeavor, the legs come completely installed in place on the Liberty. So when you pull it off the pallet, the door assembly is complete and the leg assembly is complete. So you got a complete wood stove as soon as you get it in the house.
And another thing on the back side of this door, another huge improvement we made, is this is installed. Number one, the door swings out fully open. So you can go 180 degrees all the way open, out of your way for loading the wood in. There's some manufacturers, the doors stop right here. So this, from a convenience standpoint, opens all the way. But this is put together just like the old original Lopi doors, where a cast iron retainer is bolted to the cast iron door. There's 8 points of fastening, 4 up top, 4 down bottom. And that glass gasketing now, which is invisible, you can't even see it, is sandwiched between those 2 bolted together layers. So nice improvement. Kind of back to the basics on how we used to assemble doors, and we put them together that way again.
There's 2 things I want to talk about toward the back of the stove. On the very back of the stove, we've got a knockout plate to use that new 400 CFM fan, that big paddle fan that moves that air. We use it currently on the Cape Cod, on the Rockport, on the Evergreen, and the new Endeavor has that feature with that fan. The Liberty has that as well. And we also have the ability for green start, just like we do on the other freestanding stoves.
And again, you can show it on that side. We're the only one that uses a non-catalytic stove with a bypass damper. So the bypass damper still gives you that easy startup and that smoke-free reloading, especially when you go up and elbow into a chimney. It makes the stove easier to start, and it just gets that smoke out of the house when you're starting your stove.
And with that new fan, the other thing is that we've actually opened these up here just a little bit more to get a little bit more air going through there and go all the way down that hallway to that back bedroom.
I was working with one of the salespeople here in the Northwest, and they call it the all-enveloping fan, because when you kick that thing on, it's like just this huge wall of air moves at you that you just go, okay, turn down the fan, turn it off.
Yeah, it's a tremendous new fan for the stove. Big model, big unit. Still going to fit in a 28-inch doorway, so you'll be able to get through those interior doorways too. So we've got it designed to where it's not going to be a difficult thing to get installed in a tight space.
So 2 optional accessories for this stove. A fan and igniter, green start igniter.
Everything else comes complete on it.
Ready to go.
Ash pan, doors complete, stainless steel secondary air tubes. This is a very complete new wood stove.
Producing and shipping now. Hi, we're going to talk to you a little bit about the testing on this stove. This stove is a 3.65 cubic foot firebox, and it certifies at 2.5 grams per hour on cordwood. Now, I see you've got some, well, what is that?
Cordwood.
Yeah, it's cordwood. Well,
this is actual cordwood. This is what we are now testing our wood stoves to pass the cordwood.
Wait, I've got wood here too.
You do have wood there. But
I went out to the wood shop and got these pieces. I cut up a pallet. I cut up a pallet and brought it in. So this is what you burn in your wood stove?
That's what they've been burning and testing for the last 30 years.
This is called cribwood. This is what they used to use as cordwood inside of wood stoves to test wood stoves. And it's optional whether you test with this particular product anymore. As you see, there's no knots in it. It's clean. It's fir, kiln dried, nailed together as a specific pattern. And this is what they call a crib for testing your wood stoves.
It just gives you a very even burn potential when you're testing it. But the fact of the matter is consumers don't burn that.
Right.
They're burning cordwood. So what we did is on all the new wood stoves for 2020, every single Travis wood burning appliance now is tested to the cordwood standard, which means they actually tested it and approved it to those emission levels burning cordwood.
And the cordwood difference in the test is you start a cordwood test from when you strike the match. So you have a cold stove with a full load of wood, kindling, everything. You start the fire, you get it going from a cold stove to a cold stove is how they sample the emissions. On a crib fuel stove, we're allowed to get the stove up to temperature, then throw a new load of crib in it, and we start sampling emissions then. So this is more real world. Even the EPA's website says this is the preferred method of testing, is testing the stoves with cordwood.
And what's amazing about this is you get a 3.65 cubic foot firebox. That's a giant firebox on a wood burning appliance, and you got 2.5 grams of emissions. It is, I mean, when we started in this business, that was impossible.
You're right. You never were going to get those kind of numbers. And what's different about that cordwood test as well, based on your per cubic foot of firebox, you have to put in 12 pounds of wood per cubic foot. If you're using crib fuel, you only have to put in 7 pounds per cubic foot. So you're putting in almost half the amount of wood to get your emission test. So it is, for some manufacturers, just an easier way to get their stove passed. We went the tougher way. We use cordwood because that's what you burn. That's what your customers burn.
Now it's getting heavy. His is light, so I'm going to set mine down.
Thanks for taking the time today to watch the video, and hopefully you've been entertained just a little bit.
Or we've taught you something about the new Lopi Liberty.
So thanks again for watching.